Hello everyone, KobaltKai here. It's been quite a bit of time since my last video, but I'm looking to no longer have such long pauses between video uploads. Anyway, I wanted to continue development of the sprite pack today, and I figured I might as well let you guys be in on it because something that occurred to me as I'm developing the game. I went to different websites online and I asked around, got different game developers' opinions of why do some games fail or why do some of them succeed. Some people said that it was marketing, others agreed that art is a big factor since video games are a form of art. But something that I realized as I was asking these questions was it's ultimately the vision of what the game developer has versus what the people they're making the game for want. So I just wanted to keep the development process public from this point on. In the past, since I was designing 500 sprites and I can't even, they're not even visible, like all these trees and whatnot, I needed time to get my style completely ready for anything I'd be making. I didn't really have an art style when I first started for sprite work, but over time I've kind of realized that the more I keep the project to myself, the less it's for you guys and the less anyone will want to see it, which kind of makes sense. But I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of indie game developers kind of fall into that habit of starting off their dream project and they have such a strong vision for it, they're not willing to actually see how other people are willing to consider it, and I don't want to make that same mistake. So anyway, the biomes that I'm developing so far, the sea biome or ocean biome, it is almost 100% finished. It's going to highlight this. I have so many sprites, I can't really... There we go. Just these right here. Gosh. Okay, I had that locked. Okay, so all of these sprites right here are all the ones that I'm currently working on. For the most part, it should be finished sometime early this month. Um, This is a pretty experimental style actually for sprite work. I'm trying to avoid doing the cross hatching with different colors and whatnot, because what I find is that even if I do it properly, it kind of makes everything look a little bit... I'd be willing to say it looks good, but to a certain point, it actually starts destroying the textures that I was trying to build up with the sprites. So maybe when I get better at sprite work, I'll try adding a little bit more hatching or something, but other than that, for the most part, I'm just trying to make sure that I get everything done properly. If you guys have any suggestions of something you'd like to see in-game in terms of props, you're welcome to recommend it. Oh, that was my phone. But for the most part, let's see. I believe I mentioned previously that there are two different biomes that I actually had planned for development. These would be the desert biome, which should have nothing in it but sand tiles, and the tundra, so of course, basically just ice, just straight ice. Anyway, my current plans for this month are basically to wrap this up as fast as possible, or rather as good as possible. It has to be good before I wrap it up, and I also have, well, let's see, two animations that I have in development for you guys. They're kind of in the drafting phase right now, but I'm going to show them right here. Both of these are commissions that are primarily planned out. You probably recognize this cow. I am surprisingly good at drawing this cow. And that's probably going to be the most I can show you guys at the moment because the rest of it is a work in progress. But yeah, you guys are going to be getting more cow pretty soon because we all like beef. Unless we're vegan, but I don't know about that. You know, it's a little bit odd actually. I just realized I don't know if anyone in my life is actually normally vegan. But then again, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Um, let's see. Something I do want to say though is if you do like or don't like the sprite direction with this, let me know. Currently I'm trying to design coral reefs, seashells, maybe some ocean weeds. This is seaweed for the most part. I'm trying to make the seaweed look pretty good because that's what I'm going to be spamming across the whole map probably. The coral reefs are probably going to be more for special events or areas and stages. But other than that, for the most part, it's just a matter of trying to get everything to look good, but also make it look like it complements each other when they're all together. Let's see. I was thinking of turning this into a live stream, but I'm not really comfortable with streaming at the moment. It's something I kind of slipped out of. I'll have to get back into the habit of it if I start doing it again. Let's see. Should probably do this. Oh yeah, that's 100% helpful. Hmm. Okay, this might require me to... So again, I'm not really an expert at sprite work, so what I had to do is I had to like develop my own style as I make everything. When I first started like designing plants and whatnot, it seemed kind of impossible. I need a better brush than this. There we go. For the most part, right now, what I want to focus on is just making sure that the lines and the contour lines are not... They don't stand out too much. I am aware that there is a specific hatching, well, a specific pixel style in which, for the most part, these lines, this is a really bad for like... This is really bad for like designing professional sprite work. I'm actually supposed to take an eraser and just double it down to just like 1 pixel. Not supposed to be doubled up, but since I'm going to be going back over it like this, it's actually pretty hard to even notice that. So in about 3, 2, 1, it looks a lot better than it did like 7 seconds ago. But for the most part, I have to figure out how to like do it properly and add shading so that everything still sticks out. That being said, the other day I did an update video, I believe, and something I did not point out properly was I actually at some point want to make a city for the level design and whatnot. It may be 2 cities, maybe 3 or 4. It honestly depends, but that's kind of a long way off right now. At the moment, I have to focus on finishing those animations for you guys. They will probably have sound and whatnot to them, but for the most part, it's just a matter of like handling scope creep and making sure that I'm not juggling too much for myself to handle. Interestingly enough, I don't actually have issues with scope creep like I see a lot of creators have. As long as I know that I can complete the project, that's really all that matters to me. Because it's the fact I can do it that's gotten me up to this point. It's not a matter of like how hard it is or how long it takes, because as I mentioned before, I am very patient with when I want to work on a project like this. Let's see. But that being said, I do understand that like it's been droning on for quite a while. The amount of time I spent like developing this game. So I do have to apologize to you guys. I originally thought, because I was new to game development, that I was going to have this done essentially as fast as possible, like probably released in December and then just start adding live patch notes to it. But at the time that I was actually doing that, these sprites right here are the only sprites that I actually even had finished. Just all of these sprites right here. This was all the biomes, all the just 2 sets of rock, some fruit. It was going to be a pretty lackluster RPG for the expectations. So I had to make sure that it was over 500 different sprites, have different areas, regions. I'm still kind of getting used to like designing 2-dimensional art in a 3-dimensional space and giving it like enough vibrancy for it to properly stand out. So I'm going to have to see if I can make it kind of work. It shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem, honestly. So to those of you who are new, because I realize I haven't introduced it in a while, Kaiju Chronicles is a game where you would essentially be playing as a monster or furry, whichever one you want to call it. And your goal is basically to just survive whatever the game throws at you. Or eat it. It doesn't really matter. Until I get the biomes finished, though, there isn't really going to be too much for what I can add in terms of characters to the game. Since I'm in the forest right now, I'd have to start focusing on, like, probably designing the bears first or something. But something I realized, like, as I started developing the game right off the bat, is that if this game does not have a story, then it's actually pretty easy to, like, become disengaged with it. It's hard to be immersed in a game without a proper story, but in order to have a story, you have to have everything else finished first. So it's like, in order to properly introduce the game, I need a story, but in order to have a story, I have to have everything pre-made for the story. Because, like, if I just add something later on that wasn't originally planned, I have to go through the whole process of literally making that. And I think that's what scope creep is to a lot of indie game developers. It's realizing that you planned out too much to know how to do it in the time frame that you have. I went on to r/game dev on Reddit, and since the site's Reddit, it was naturally full of Redditors who are very confident in their opinions, let's put it at that. But something that tipped me off, I asked the question, a lot of the people there didn't really say, they didn't elaborate on what games they were working on because it wasn't the kind of question that asked. But I got the impression that a lot of game developers are actually under very tight deadlines based on like their job and what their job demands. So I have good news. The good news is that since I have all of this linked to my Patreon, this is a personal project that does not have a time limit. So there's no risk of me needing to suddenly cut the project short, at least as long as I have good health and I'm still alive. For the most part, it's just a matter of what can I get finished and how should I go about getting it done. It looks a lot better when I shade through the contour lines like this, actually. Outside of this, good grief. Okay. So all that was just 2 sprites. Each one of these sprites takes quite a bit of time to actually complete. It is a lot harder than a lot of the YouTube tutorials actually go over and describe. I think I'm a little bit past the point of drawing trees now, so I guess that's good. I should probably switch that back. I should totally switch that back. Yeah, I just messed up. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to use the brighter shade to color this. I've seen, like, in some YouTube videos and, like, tips and tricks that you want to have a limited sprite pack for sprite animation. Like, maybe up to 52 colors or something like that. I'm afraid I may or may not have actually broken that rule right now. Like, it's not really a rule, but like a recommendation, and I can definitely see the value of it. But as a new indie developer, I feel like if I don't use everything I have at my disposal, then I'm just going to disappoint the people that I want to be able to enjoy this game. Let's see. I think the amount of colors that I actually have in this game, excuse me, I think the amount of colors I have in this game is somewhere around like, it's at least over 100 at this point, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that every sprite is unique in its own way. Because something that's bothered me with RPGs for a while, and maybe it's just me, because I grew up with playing Pokemon, is that the longer you play the RPG, the less gratifying it is. You notice it's like you start the RPG out and it's like, oh yeah, I'm in this new world, time to find out what's inside of it I can save. And those trees at the start of like every Pokemon game, you play with them all the way to the end. You see the exact same trees in the same area of the region. The only difference is like the snow region. Maybe it's because I played like Pokemon Platinum, Emerald, well, Pokemon Platinum, Sapphire, and whatnot. But like, even with some of the 3D games, even the remakes, even there's only like 1 to 2 or 3 models of trees, and some of them just have snow on top of them. And it just made me think, wow, I knew that I didn't like Pokemon. Like, I like the Pokemon style, but I knew that there was some reason I didn't like the game. But now that I'm in indie game development, it actually occurred to me this is the reason why. The game destroys its own immersion by not using any new assets. Like, you complete a gym, you go to a new area, and there's nothing actually unique about that route. It looks exactly the same as the last route you went through. So when a boss is defeated in this game, I want the biomes to actually change. I want it to actually feel like different and be like gratifying in a way. Because nobody like, it's kind of like the old Super Mario principle. If your princess is in another castle, it's funny at first, but then it happens like another 7 times. So unless you're Nintendo and you have got the quirkiness for it, it's not a good habit for like adding to a game. I think that at least that's how I feel. Something I did learn from like asking around on Reddit about like how to make video games is that apparently you have to be really good at marketing. I kind of had to ask them though, but don't you kind of need art in order to market it? So they kind of agreed, but kind of couldn't agree. None of us could actually agree with each other on like what was actually the most important or what makes an indie game successful. But what I do know is that a lot of indie developers, part of how they take off is they stick with their strengths. So I'm just going to stick with mine for a moment. The ocean sprites should be finished. These should be done pretty soon. I don't know if I'm going to add like a air mechanic for like needing to breathe underwater to it though. I would be really annoyed if I had to do that. Just because I like grew up with Sonic and I'm aware of how irritating it is to like the physics suddenly change in water. You always move slower in a lot of games, and it's like it kind of just stretches out the playtime, but not the player enjoyment. So it like makes people not want to play the level. So if you guys have any idea like how I can make it fun or interesting, I would really appreciate it because like I don't want everything to like take place on land. Maybe some levels will be like up in the clouds and others will be like down in the ocean. I know that with some of these actual, if I can get down to them, with these crystals, I was thinking of like putting these probably in space actually, like actually in actual space, just like crystal nebulas or something. Just something for probably later on in the game or something. Let's see. I'll probably have to stop this video pretty soon, and then maybe later on today or at some point I'll do a live stream or something just to continue this, because I'm tired of leaving you guys in the dark. You guys are funding me out of poverty, metaphorically speaking. I wouldn't have gotten half as far as I am currently if it were not for you guys always like having my back for this, because I see a lot of indie game developers struggling and desperately clawing, trying to like find whatever form of money or cash they can to keep their passion going. And I don't want to make anyone who develops a game who failed feel bad about it, but I feel like the secret to indie game development is to just make a good game that people want to play. And then like after you get the money for that, then you can make your passion project. You know, like with me, I kind of just want to like make a mini game of sorts. And if the mini game becomes popular, then I might add the mechanics of the mini game to the main game, like the main storyline or something, but I don't want to just like suddenly drop something into the game that people don't like and I don't know how to remove it. I don't think I can express enough how much Krita has been saving me the time and effort from frustration. Like, somehow with this art software, I'm always able to find a way to draw everything so well that I don't need to take a break to look up how to draw things, in a way. It's like, it's got a tool for everything, literally everything. So if you guys are new to game development or something, or if you want to make sprites like this, I'd honestly recommend downloading Krita or GIMP or Sprite. I feel like Krita actually may or may not have Sprite edged out a bit, because it's a little bit more developed, I think, in terms of like art development. I've never used Sprite before. I might have to check it out at some point. I know it's good, but being like a native of Krita, I'm just like very focused right now on getting all this done properly. So if some of you guys are like indie game developers out there, could you let me know like what art software you guys use? Because I've never really seen it before on YouTube, but I noticed some indie game developers, they don't really... I hope they ask around. I don't know. I don't really like look at other people's channels enough to know. But if there's any specific art software that you guys are using, I would probably appreciate it if you commented down below and just like let me know. Probably sounds like a jackhammer right now with how much I'm doing this. It's a little bit funny actually, because the longer I go about like developing this game, I spent a very long amount of time like wanting to develop a game. So I'm just like full of enthusiasm right now, and it's just got me feeling like I don't suffer from scope creep at the moment. And it's like, maybe I will, but if I can draw over 500 pixels, like if I can draw over 500 sprites like this and not get tired of it, and I'm mostly there, I just have to finish the jungle and these mushrooms next. I think I should be pretty good for like what I have to design next, because after this it should come down to the characters that I'll actually be showcasing in the level. Weird thing about like the kaiju and whatnot that I'm designing for the game is that I have to make the environments match the actual kaiju themselves, or make the kaiju match the environment. So it's like either I make the environment first and I have to limit the character design, or I make the character design and then build the level to complement off of that. And I decided to go with the second one first, because that kind of makes it more interesting. I'm glad I got shading down for this though, because it's pretty hard to do, actually. I'll have to take this one and go here. In the case of a lot of these sprites, I'm just kind of like rushing them out for a bit. That should look pretty good. That looks way better than when it started. Oh my gosh, I might have to save that. Yep, that is 100%. That is perfect, hopefully. Okay. That's not good at all. Okay, let's see if I can fix that. In the past, I mean, okay, maybe it's going to sound a little bit arrogant, but in the past, I actually was like a serious gamer. Like, I can't quantify it too much because I don't want to, like, I was pretty, was pretty self-confident to say the least. But in the past, I was like, if a game developer would just make this, this, and that, more people would play their game. And it's like rage bait, you know? But now that I'm actually like here developing a game, it's probably humbled me for a bit. Let's see. Alright, that should do it. Now it just comes down to this. Personally, I like the style of art that I'm using for this right now because, like, pixel art, it definitely has its ups and downs for everything. Like, I can definitely, like, see the value of going through things like this and then just, like, reverse shading it and whatnot, but I'm kind of not good enough at it at the moment. It's almost there. It's almost passable, but when I compare them like side by side, I just kind of like prefer the realism a bit because it makes me like, I think what it is it makes my mind imply to itself what it's supposed to look like. That's kind of the vibe I'm going for because I know that, like, since it's sprite animation, sprites are oftentimes thought of as being like smaller than reality. But something I do want to like point out real quick. You guys have probably noticed the human character compared to the trees and everything, he's actually pretty small. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make like realistic buildings the characters might be able to go into at some point. It probably would need to be about 3-4 blocks tall. Can't really say that I'd be able to get it done, but it's an interesting concept. If you guys would like to see some of that at some point once the game's developed, you're welcome to comment it down below. But in the meantime, like, it's just a matter of like managing scope. I feel like my scope is infinite right now because I don't really plan to stop working on this game. Let's see. In a lot of instances of what I'm drawing on screen right now, I was actually using AI development, well, AI to like create, what was it called? AI to create rough drafts, and then at some point or another, I actually just like deleted the AI reference points and just started drawing unique shapes themselves instead. So each one of these sprites was actually like designed based off of like what an AI image used to look like. There was no way I could use it in game, but since I was new to sprite development, I needed a way to figure out how to draw things super fast, and like seeing AI sprites combine things. I hate AI art and like how they try to use it to replace the art community. That should probably do. I think that should do it. But there were some things that it was actually good at, and I felt like in order to ensure AI cannot replace me, I have to study it enough to know what it does right, but also take advantage of what it does wrong. And this art style is primarily the end result of that. Anyway, I'm probably going to wrap this up for now. If I do stream later, if I do stream later, I hope I remember to give like the proper like update post about it or something. I've kept you guys in the dark for a pretty long time while I got this art style developed, and at this point, I just want to make sure that everything is like satisfactory to you guys. So what matters to me the most isn't necessarily how good the art is, but rather how satisfied you guys are, because you're my audience, of course. So let me know your thoughts about like the art so far. This is my attempt drawing tentacles or seaweed. Some of these are like sci-fi style plants. We had some corals, some artificial, well, some traditional corals, some explosives, some a little bit more unique in color. But for the most part, this is where things are right now. So let me know your thoughts below, and I should be able to give you guys another update pretty soon, as long as I stay on top of things and don't get weighed down by scope creep. That's what stopped me the last time I was doing things. But now that I know how to do sprite art and sprite, and I'm getting real close to being able to do sprite animation, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. So once this is all done, I should be able to start doing some sprite animations. You might actually see them on Patreon. Maybe I'll even turn like my character into a sprite character and just animate him on the edge of the screen. But as always, I hope you enjoyed, and I will hopefully see you guys later. Thanks for supporting me.